This is In the Loop. I'm Christian Bryant. Before we get to those other stories, we want to give you an update on the latest in the streaming wars. Over the summer, Nielsen reported that streaming viewership surpassed cable usage for the first time in the US. It's worth noting, Nielsen only records on TVs and internet-connected TVs, so it's not even measuring mobile or desktop, which means their share of the market is probably even higher. This new landscape is changing the way streamers are trying to make money, for better or worse. As more and more people are signing up for streaming platforms like Netflix, HBO Max, or Disney Plus, companies are starting to roll out new ad-supported models. Yes, folks, more commercials are coming to streaming. In the past, one of Netflix's co-chief executives repeatedly stated how no advertising was coming onto Netflix, period. But after a huge loss of subscribers and a difficult quarter, that same executive told investors Netflix is looking into ad models over the next year or two. Netflix's woes aren't exactly good news for its competitors that race to make streaming platforms of their own. The news highlights a wider conversation about how these massive platforms are actually making money and how stable the new streaming model really is. So let's take a minute to break down what we know and what we still don't know about how the streaming model works. First, there's original content.
Without you, we can't win this war.
Big blockbuster hits like Stranger Things on Netflix or WandaVision on Disney Plus can definitely draw new subscribers. But it seems the threshold for a new show to survive is pretty darn high. Even popular shows like The OA, Sense8, or The Babysitter's Club can get canceled after only a season or two. Netflix is particularly notorious for this. Unlike with cable, streaming services are prioritizing how many new subscribers a show can bring in, not just how popular a show is within the existing subscribers. Netflix has also stated it focused on the first 28 days of release to see how many viewers began the show and how many finished a season within a month. Compare that to a show like The Office. Today, it's one of the most popular modern sitcoms, but it was at risk of cancellation due to poor ratings on NBC for its first two seasons.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
There's a reason the risk of hoping a show will grow and build an audience is much higher for streaming than it used to be for cable. Part of that is because platforms now pay production companies all production fees up front in exchange for more control over distributing the show. So there are much bigger losses if a show doesn't take off. And unfortunately, as it's been widely reported, shows with diverse stars and casts seem to be on the chopping block more often. But while streaming services churn out original shows, hoping for that breakout hit, the real competition is actually in the battle over old shows and movies that already come with fan bases. Sky Moore, an entertainment lawyer, put it like this.
And streamers, it's the winner is whoever has the most content. So what is happening is consolidation is everybody is attempting to be the last man standing. There's only probably going to be 4 players when this party's over in a couple of years. And whoever has the most content wins.
This explains the jaw-dropping amounts some platforms have paid for old sitcoms like Friends, Seinfeld, and The Office, or for intellectual property like Amazon's record-breaking purchase of rights to the Lord of the Rings source material. And we'll get back to that one in just a minute. When networks used to buy syndication rights to a show, the number was based on available ad and viewership data for that network. But here, in the subscriber model, it's actually unclear what these numbers are really based on. All we do know is that these huge purchases and mergers show how important consolidating big libraries really is. Companies are betting massive libraries stocked with old favorites are what will keep subscribers around. And it's part of the reason why we're likely going to see even more mergers and buyouts between big entertainment companies.
If you look on a broad scale of entertainment, which is really who they're competing against, it's no longer, for example, the studios, it's studios against streamers. And broadly, it's studios and streamers against Facebook and against YouTube and against, Instagram. It's a much broader universe of entertainment than it used to be. And so they've got to consolidate.
Nothing emphasizes how valuable old franchises are than Amazon's billion-dollar purchase of the rights to Lord of the Rings. Yes, that's billion with a B. The upcoming series, The Rings of Power, is already the most expensive television show in history. Entertainment correspondent Casey Mendoza breaks down the mind-boggling deal and what we can expect from the historic series.
The Rings of Power is the biggest gamble in TV and streaming history. With a $1 billion investment from Amazon, the series, based on the lore of J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings series, hopes to welcome both longtime fans and new viewers to Middle-earth.
The beautiful thing about our show is that it's a healthy balance of old and new.
It's gonna turn a whole new viewership on to Tolkien.
It'll spark up, I don't know, new forums, new conversations.
It's very, very exciting. I can't wait for people to see it.
The series is set thousands of years before the stories of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, which, as a film franchise, has grossed more than $1.8 billion since the release of the 1978 animated movie. The story's foray into television will include 5 seasons, with the first season having 8 episodes.
I think the beauty of TV is that you have that intimate bond with the audience.
We get to luxuriate in the worlds. We get to be fully immersed in each little kingdom, each little fantastical world.
But beyond its artistic ambitions, Amazon's investments into The Rings of Power are part of the company's strategy for streaming dominance. While the platform found critical success with its superhero drama The Boys and its period comedy The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Amazon is still competing against the larger libraries of prestige programming from Netflix, Disney+, and HBO Max. Its biggest competitor in the fantasy world is most notably HBO Max's Game of Thrones spin-off House of the Dragon, which garnered a record-breaking 10 million viewers when it debuted in August.
We play an ugly game.
The Rings of Power premiered September 1st, and the first season will conclude on October 14th. Keith Mendoza, Newsy.